You are still half asleep when your father goes rigid. He is standing in the doorway, looking out at the sea. You follow his eyes down to the water, and you see them too. 3 long ships, low and dark, turning in toward your beach. You are old enough to know what they mean. Not a fair fight, not a quick death either, which would almost be mercy. They mean the rope and the ship and the market across the water. A life spent as another man's property in a land you will never see the end of. Your father does not shout. He says one word, down. And in the next 60 seconds, your whole world shrinks to a hole in the floor. That hole was not dug for this. It was dug to keep milk and butter cool through the summer. A stone-lined pit under the house that stayed cold when the world above went warm. On any other morning, it is a larder. This morning it is the only thing between your family and the slave ships. And you are about to spend the longest day of your life inside it. What follows is one raid, lived from inside the hole, hour by hour, from the moment the stone closes over your head to the moment you crawl back into the light. By the end of this, you will know whether you would have made it, so stay down, stay quiet, and count the hours. Understand where you are first. This is a coast in early medieval Ireland, a land of small farms and smaller kingdoms, no central army, no navy, no one coming to save you. When the ships appear, you are on your own, and everyone here knows it. That is exactly why your family dug the hole in the first place, and why nearly every farm along this shore has one like it. The plan was never to fight. The plan was always to disappear. The first thing is the squeeze. The way in is not a staircase, it is a gap, low and tight, and you go through it the way you were taught, on your hands and knees, feeling for the lip of stone in the dark. Your mother pushes the baby ahead of her. Your grandmother, slow and frightened, has to be pulled. One by one the family folds down into the earth, and then your father drags the flat stone back across the opening above, and the last line of grey daylight narrows and vanishes. You are sealed in. The sound of the sea and the gulls is gone. There is only breathing now, and the dark. For a few seconds you cannot see your own hand. You can only feel. The stone at your back is cold enough to bite through your clothes. Somewhere close a knee is pressed into your side, and someone's hair is against your cheek. You can smell wet earth and old smoke and the sour tang of butter from the shelves where the family stores its food down here in ordinary times. Your heart is going so hard you are certain the men above will hear it through the ground. And running under all of it is one thought you cannot switch off. If they find the stone, there is nowhere left to run. This is the last hiding place. There is no deeper hole. Someone strikes a light. A rushlight, a peeled reed soaked in fat, throws a small orange glow that barely reaches the walls. And now you can see where you are. A narrow passage of dry stone, roofed with heavy slabs, opening into a low chamber where the whole family is crouched together, knees to chests, shoulder against shoulder. The stone is cold and slightly damp. The air already smells of earth and tallow and fear. Everyone is looking at your father, and your father is looking at the ceiling, because the next sound any of you hear will come from up there. It does not take long. Footsteps. Heavy, unhurried, more than one man crossing the floor of your house directly above your heads. You hear your own front door bang. You hear the raiders moving through the single room where you slept last night, kicking things over, pulling the place apart looking for anything worth carrying. Dust sifts down between the ceiling slabs and settles on your hair. A man says something in a language you do not understand, and another laughs, and the two of them are standing right now on the stone that hides you. If the baby cries, you are all finished. This is the rule your family has drilled into you since you could walk, and now you understand why. Silence is not politeness down here. Silence is survival. A cough, a sob, The scrape of a shoe on stone, and 20 feet of careful hiding is undone in a heartbeat. Your mother has the baby against her chest, a knuckle gently in its mouth, rocking without a sound. Your grandmother is praying with her lips and no voice. You press your own hand over your mouth and breathe through your fingers, slow, quiet, while the men who came to sell you walk back and forth a body length away. Time stops meaning anything almost at once. There is no light from outside to tell you if it is still morning. There is no sound you can trust, only the muffled thumps and drags from above, and the roar of your own pulse in your ears. A minute in that chamber stretches into something enormous. You start to notice small, unbearable things. The cramp building in your calf that you cannot stretch out. The drip of water somewhere in the dark. The way your little cousin's eyes have gone huge and glassy with fear, and how you have to hold his gaze and shake your head, slowly. No, not a sound, because he is right on the edge of breaking, and one whimper from him ends all of you. This is what the whole really asks of a family. Not bravery, stillness. The hardest thing in the world when every animal instinct you have is screaming at you to move, to run, to make noise, to do anything but sit and wait to be found. And the raiders are thorough. They are not going to walk into an empty village and shrug. They know the game as well as you do. They have raided this coast before, and they have learned that the people are the prize and that the people hide. So they search. You hear them working through the house methodically, and every so often the footsteps pause directly overhead, and in that pause you die a small death, waiting to hear the scrape of the entrance stone being lifted. And here is the part nobody tells you about hiding underground, the thing that will actually decide whether you live. It is not the raiders. It is the air. You are a group of frightened people packed into a small sealed pocket of stone, and every breath any of you takes uses the air up a little more. The rushlight is using it too. That small flame is quietly eating the same air you need. In a tight enough chamber, with enough bodies, the danger creeping up on you is not a Viking at all. It is the slow, invisible fact that the room is running out of what keeps you alive, and you will feel sleepy and heavy and calm long before you understand that calm is the thing killing you. The flame, then, is not just for seeing. It is a warning system. Your father watches it more than he watches the ceiling. As long as the rushlight burns bright and steady, the air is good. If it starts to gutter and shrink and burn low for no reason, when there is no draft to explain it, that is the air going bad, and it is time to make a hard choice. The better souterrains were built with a thin vent, a narrow shaft angled up to the surface, exactly so a hidden family could breathe through a long wait. Yours has one, somewhere in the dark, a finger of fresh air threading down into the chamber. You have never been so grateful for a hole in the ground within a hole in the ground. And there may come a moment, if the wait runs long enough, when your father makes the hardest call of all. He wets his fingers and pinches out the rushlight. Now you sit in a darkness so total it presses on your open eyes, because a dead flame breathes nothing, and the air it would have burned might be the difference between climbing out of here and never climbing out at all. You cannot see the person crushed against your side. You can only feel them trembling and be grateful they are still warm. That is how a child learns that light itself is a luxury the hunted cannot always afford. If watching this makes you want to put your own hands on the past instead of just watching it, that is the whole idea behind the Medieval Way store. It starts with the Medieval Bakery Collection, the practical recipes book for the dishes a household like this actually cooked, the sourdough manual for keeping a living leaven the old way, and the sourcing guide for finding real heritage grain. The bread is where that kitchen begins. The footsteps above you stop. For a long moment there is nothing, and nothing is worse than the noise was, because now you cannot tell what they are doing. Then you hear it. Scraping. Someone up there is dragging things aside, testing the floor, and your blood goes cold because there is only one reason a raider paws at the ground of an empty house. He suspects. He knows the trick. He knows that a family that vanishes did not run far, and that the richest catch on this coast is not the pots and the pelts, but the people, and the people are hidden somewhere close. This is the moment the hole earns its keep, and it is why the way in was built the way it was. Even if he finds the entrance, he cannot simply drop down among you. He has to come through that same low squeeze you crawled through, head first on his belly, blind, one man at a time, into a black space where your father is waiting at the narrowest point with the heaviest stone he could lift. A grown warrior with a sword is worth nothing on his hands and knees in a tunnel he cannot see. The passage that was so hard for your frightened grandmother to enter is a wall of death for anyone trying to force it. You are not helpless down here. You are simply waiting to find out whether it comes to that. It does not this time. The scraping stops. Maybe he lost his nerve. Maybe the entrance really was too well hidden, tucked under a hearthstone and covered again, invisible in the gloom. Maybe someone above called him away to carry loot down to the ships. You will never know. All you know is that the sound moves off, and the footsteps thin out, and after a while the house above you goes quiet, in a way that feels different from before. Emptier. But you do not move. This is the trap that catches the careless, and your father knows it. Because a quiet house is not a safe house. Raiders leave men behind on purpose or double back, precisely to catch the families who pop up too soon, thinking it is over. Come out 1 hour early, and every hour you survived was for nothing. So you wait. You have no window, no way to measure time except the slow burn of the rushlight and the ache building in your folded legs. An hour passes, and it feels like a day. The cold of the stone has crept all the way into your bones now. The baby has finally, mercifully, fallen asleep. Nobody speaks. You just sit in the dark under the ruins of your own home, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. The waiting does strange things to your mind. In the black, with nothing to look at, your thoughts start filling the silence with horrors. Is your uncle already in chains down at the shore? Did your friend from the next farm reach her hole in time, or is her family being marched onto a ship right now? You cannot know, and not knowing is its own kind of torture, worse in some ways than the fear of being found. Every instinct in you wants to go and see, to do something, and every instinct is wrong. The families that survived these raids were not the bravest or the strongest. They were the ones who could sit in a cold hole and outlast their own imaginations. That is the skill nobody puts on a memorial. The sheer grinding patience of the hunted. Your father marks the time the only way he can, by the rushlights he burns through, and he makes the whole family ration its movements to save the air. No shifting, no stretching, no fidgeting a cramped leg unless you truly must. Every needless motion is a little more of the good air spent for nothing. So you learn to be still in a way a modern person can barely imagine, still as the stone around you, breathing shallow and slow, waiting for a man you trust to decide that the world above is safe enough to risk your life on again. Think about what that patience actually costs. You are a child, cramped and freezing and terrified, and every part of you is screaming to get out, to see the sky, to know if your uncle in the next field is alive or taken, and you cannot. The discipline that keeps you underground for hours after the danger seems past is the same discipline that keeps you alive, and it is a discipline these coastal families passed down like an heirloom because they had learned it in the worst way. Every family that survived a raid was a family that had learned to outweight its own fear. The rushlight burns down. Your father lights another, and by the count of them you begin to guess how long you have been under. 2 lights. 3. The vent breathes its thin thread of cool air, and you fix on it because as long as you can feel it, you know the chamber will not smother you. Somewhere above, the light of day you cannot see is sliding across the afternoon and starting to fade, and still your father does not move toward the entrance. Not yet. Not until he is as sure as a frightened man can be. Finally, in what must be the evening, he decides. He crawls back up the passage alone, and you hold your breath listening to him work the stone loose above. A crack of dim light, cold real air pouring down, so much sweeter than the vent's thin trickle that you almost cry. He waits there, half out, listening to the world for a long time before he says the second word he has spoken all day. Clear. And one by one, stiff and shaking, you climb back up the squeeze and out into what is left of the evening. What is left is not much. The house is torn open, the door smashed, everything of value gone or broken. Down at the water there are no ships now, just the marks where their keels bit the sand. The village is a scatter of frightened people crawling out of their own hidden holes, blinking, counting each other. Some holes stay closed and silent, and those are the ones nobody wants to open. Not every family spotted the sails in time. Not every family had a hole, or reached it, or kept a baby quiet. You survived because of a cold store under your floor and a rule about silence and a father who watched a flame instead of the ceiling. Others this morning did not. And that is the truth these tunnels hold, under all the cleverness of their design. They were not a fortress, and they were not a victory. They were a way to endure the worst day imaginable and come out the other side still yourself, still free, still a family. Not everyone did. But enough did, often enough, that people kept digging them and kept teaching their children the squeeze and the silence and the meaning of a guttering flame, generation after generation, all along the raided coasts of Ireland. You are shaking as you stand in the wreck of your home, and you will not sleep tonight, and you will flinch at the sight of a sail for the rest of your life. But you are standing on your own ground, in your own country, with your own family around you. That is the whole of what the hole in the floor was ever meant to buy you. Not riches, not safety, just the chance to still be here when the ships are gone. If you would have made it through that day, subscribe for more of the history they never taught you. Would you have stayed down or run? Tell me below.